the table whether or not the economic environment, money, people voting for better diamonds, so to speak, with their dollars, whether we can, in fact, solve this problem through pure economic power of social responsibility competition. Let's just say everybody only buys diamonds from Tiffany tomorrow. That's it. Not interested in Signet. They have a high standard, and they sell their standard. Well, they're competing in a certain way because they're saying our diamonds have a certain provenance that we can approve. Let's do that. And so other people are going to come up and say, well, I have to be able to also offer diamonds with a good level of knowledge or whatever. Someone might come across with mercury-free gold. I think you're running some kind of a, what was it, some kind of a collection, some kind of a tournament or something like that.
Actually, Martin, we're not doing that.
Oh.
That microphone picked up. Thank you. So, no, we began having a proposal to the industry, let's raise $1 million as a challenge prize to see who can come up with really tractable approaches to mining without mercury. They're really effective and scalable, but we saw that the industry was not ready for that. The industry was needing to have kind of more of a direct relationship to how is this impacting us, how is it impacting the customer. So no, we're just now building our 3 prongs with a work on the ground with the assessment and the engineering and also in the community and then a supply chain. So no, not quite the same as that.
But there are other organizations, I don't know who it is offhand, that are in fact saying we have a superior product, bring in the designers, and let's make a contest or a something that makes it better. And my point here is, what are our options? Okay, I'll conventional, say I can't handle the KP and all that, but okay, where are we going? What can we do to encourage a greater marketing or a greater perception among consumers as to the advantages of diamonds that come from known sources? Because I believe that's happening now already in many other industries, the timber industry, the fisheries industry. I mean, that's all happening. But what can we do? And that's maybe to you, David, maybe it's to you also, Ronnie. What can we do to enhance the value of diamonds based on a certain level of social responsibility? In my view, it will be a little different. It is organizational. It's just people competing with each other, the way they did for triple X's. Yeah, it's business. So I'm thinking maybe if it's business, people pay more, then people are going to want to make products that people will pay more money for, like triple X's. And the business will start to correct itself. It'll start to do more and better social responsibility for jewelry if they can market it, if they can sell it, and then I think that we'll get on the slippery slope of legitimacy. We'll get on the slippery slope of better, more ethical stuff. But what do you think of that competitive kind of an environment?
I have a question for you. So we all know that the consumer has the largest inventory in diamonds out there, right? You yourself buy back, and we all buy back.
Sure.
Where does that play in all of this then? So if you're talking about, and again, you're using the term ethical and sourcing through this.
Sure.
You're not going to be able to say exactly that this diamond came from Sierra Leone or this diamond came from, anyway. So that in one hand is an issue. Also, and I present to you, and you know that I was involved with Canada way early on in part of their standards in Yellowknife, and we had a Canadian product, which is now being offered by another gentleman, but was part of with the government. We actually had the polar bear, right? Well, interestingly enough, you're going to have all walks of life. So you're going to have those that want the brand, whatever that brand may be, and they'll pay the additional funds for the brand. You're also going to have those that want the generic brand, that don't want to pay it. Because there are those out there that believe that when it comes to a cut of a diamond, And if we take a round or a marquee or a fancy, a diamond is a diamond by any other name as long as it's sourced properly and made properly today, as you mentioned with, having triple X's. And that is where I think, the consumer today, I believe, educates themselves a lot more because of online presence on what the cut of a diamond is and, may ask. And we do know that in my heart, know that this industry works very hard to work for the future. Because if you look at the last 18 inches and you look at those that are coming and buying, they trust the store that they're buying in. That's where the trust is, or the person that they're buying from. A lot of times they don't want to have to ask the question. They want the question should be answered for them already. But as an industry, we need to be prepared to answer those questions when they're in front of us, and we need to be forward about it. So, do I think that, yeah, eventually the source will be there, and you can say this, whether we're using blockchain, and as you mentioned, Tracer, any others, Everledger, anybody else out there, that's going to be the sourcing, and that is going to be your higher standard? Possibly. But I know we're all working towards that. It's not going to happen overnight, we know that, but we certainly are working towards it. So let's hope, I do think that there are those out there that will pay more. There are also those out there that won't pay more. But we want to keep those that won't pay more, and we want to keep them involved in our product for a lot of different reasons. I love the comment that, I forget who said it now, about having to be more out there about what diamonds do. I totally agree with that we're not enough. And I think we should be, maybe more on the air and advertising about these things. So that I agree. And, to borrow the term from, diamonds do good. Yes, they do. They do good in a lot of areas for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that marketing of diamonds do good is great, but I think we also have to start differentiating the products. And what I'm thinking is that, society will get the level of ethics it's willing to pay for, no more, no less. So, for example, you can go to Starbucks right here and you can get a cup of coffee that's recycled or whatever they call it, fair trade coffee. You can actually, right here, right down the thing here. Some people buy it, some people don't. So I don't know that we can set standards as easily as we might think. I mean, child labor, Sierra Leone, may not be as much as a problem in other places today. And I wasn't meaning to knock Sierra Leone at all, Ferriol. I was talking about CAR, though. The Wagner Group specifically, and a number of women raped specifically. If you want, I can give you all the data. I'm sure you have it. But my point is something else. If we can start to have good products, and I know we can't make every product the same, but if we can start to have good products, it'll answer the question for those consumers who are focusing on the social responsibility aspect, and it'll also create a halo effect. And I think that is probably the next step forward. So you have a Tiffany doing something which is interesting. You have now, I think, an interaction with the RJC from Kering or from other companies now that because of what's happened in Russia, there's a greater interest and understanding of where is this diamond coming from, especially for the United States market, which is the primary market. And so I think that if we figure out ways to allow for, maybe with this RJC approach, this proper disclosure of what you're selling being held accountable. So if an RJC member would make a statement, that would be more valuable maybe than someone just making a statement out of nowhere, because they would then be subject to provenance auditing, okay? And what I find is that while people don't necessarily tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth, they are very hesitant to actually make the statement, A lot of people, they're kind of honest, but they're happy not to tell you everything, but if you force them, they're not going to want to lie. And I think there's a lot of really good people in the diamond supply chain that they're not going to tell you, you know, oh, the stone's got a really bad imperfection on the side. Right? They're not going to tell you that, but they will be honest if you force them to make a statement. And I think that maybe what we're seeing now, when I looked at maybe some of the AGS members, my team was at AGS just a couple of weeks ago at the conclave, people want what's good, but they want to make sure that it's an accountability issue when someone sells that something is good. And if we kind of bring this whole story, you know, it's the end already, it's 3:43, whatever, maybe that's a tremendous role for trade organizations as well. To be able to validate or verify or audit or make sure that when people say something, you don't have to say, there's a diamond, I don't know where it came from, Russia, I don't know, it's a diamond. This is a diamond that came from a De Beers mine that was cut in a factory that is an RJC audited factory in Mumbai, or whatever the story might be. That, I think, is the next level of proactive statements that do get audited, okay? And then that's going to create an opportunity for people who want to buy those products. The ability for us to scale up or to apply these kinds of standards across a broader range of products, particularly little people, is our next, in my view, a very huge challenge for us as an industry. You know, there was a big discussion many years ago about what about the little guy? And you know, you take a look at the OECD standards. You know, I studied them. I had to literally study them. My legal team had to go through to really understand them. But we should think about that. We should think about certain, I guess, levels of standards and find ways to be able to trust. I think Jared wants to say something. I don't know if Jared has an opportunity, so I'll let him talk about this. But maybe there are solutions that we can find. Not every diamond. And from my perspective, pick the low-hanging fruit, GIA or other IGI certified diamonds, and let's make those kosher, okay? But if we start to move in that direction where we have standards that people can trust, the consumers that want those products will feel comfortable. And that'll go. Because, you know, when I look at the high-end brands like Tiffany or Kering or whatever, it's not our bread and butter membership. You know what I'm saying? So we have to figure out how to bring them into this, you know, better opportunity, added value, maybe scenario, I think, anyways. But Jared, you want to say something? I saw that we didn't include you at all, so please go ahead.
Thank you. You know, as a diamond dealer, like, if we're going to have this shared path forward, we all need to agree on how we know what we think we know, and how we evaluate what other people think they know. And it seems like we have an industry that has been a little bit allergic to product-based certifications, right? We've been pretty reliant on company-based certifications. But there are plenty of people here in the room, right, that work on product-based certifications, and that's certainly where the public has been for a long time, right? You can buy a dollar avocado, scan the code on the label, and find out its complete provenance. But then claims should be based on evidence, right? And as someone else noted, you know, we're never going to agree on definitions of the term morality, sustainability, what's ethical or not. But what we can do is provide customers with really clear evidence-based information, evidence-based claims, and then let them decide. You know, that being said, we also don't want to use that as a cudgel against, like, maybe, you know, less resourced communities like ASM communities that might not have access to, you know, six-figure scanning machines, et cetera. But one place, we're never going to agree on what ethical and sustainable means. One thing we do need to agree on, which of course Barry L is working on with CIPJO as well, is on shared definitions of key terms, right? One of the reasons we're here today is because the Kimberley process redefined the term conflict for a very narrow specific use, and that put us into a real bind when it got used more generally in the public, right? That's partially why we're here. So how do we, is it through trade organizations, is it through, how do we agree on term use so that we can be, so that consumers can make clearer decisions based on the products we offer?
Maybe we can, thank you, maybe we can look at other industries as well. I'm sorry. But thank you.